during this pandemic. I heard last night there's 7 national scams that are going on related to the pandemic right now. Be careful. It's your hard-earned money, and you want to make sure it's going the right places. So if you see an organization and you think, oh, wow, that really connects with me, go to Charity Navigator and log them in. And if that organization is not filing 990s, you don't want to be a part of that, because there's somebody, you know, making $800,000 a year because they attach the name children and they attach the name feeding to it. Just be sensible, because when you're called to do something, act on that impulse, but make sure that the organization that you're going to support, you're not going to be mad or angry one day if something gets exposed there. So it's just a step of wisdom.
And when I said earlier, you know, hey, that's awesome that companies are stepping up, but it's just horrible about what's going on with how many folks are unemployed. I do martial arts, and I spoke to my grandmaster in martial arts this morning. Well, actually, probably 30 minutes before this call, and he said that he lost 3 grandmaster friends of his that he's probably known for 40, 50 years plus. In one day, 3 of them passed away. They're in New York. So it's just horrible about what's going on. You know, and it's horrible that so many people need MUST Ministries right now, but it's amazing the people that can stand up in the community are standing up right now. In just a minute, we'll get into
with us, Jason.
Sir,
standing with us and coming on board and saying, "Hey, we want to get involved with you." You know, I had the privilege. I pastored on the south side of Atlanta for 20 years.
Where at?
And at New Hope Baptist Church in Fayetteville, Georgia.
Wow, my great grandmother's buried there.
Is she really?
She went to that church. How small of a world that it is. Her name was Lucinda Williams.
I was pastor there for 20 years.
Wow.
And just a great place. But one of my church members there was Dan Cathy, you know, the president and CEO of Chick-fil-A. And I got to know Chick-fil-A early on and got to know Mr. Cathy because I would go over and do devotionals for them there at the company. And Truett Cathy was just amazing. But they tell this story about him. About one day they were in this meeting and they were trying to decide about something kind of innocuous about like who's going to be our catch-up provider. And somebody said, well, does that really matter? And Truett stood up and said, yes, it matters. Let me tell you why. He said, I believe in something called image rub. And he said, when we lock arms with somebody we're going to do business with, our image is going to rub off on them. I want to make sure they're okay with who we are because their company is very specific. We're there to glorify God. That's why they're there. And he said, I want to make sure they're comfortable with who we are in our Christian faith. And he said, and their image is going to rub off on us. And I want to make sure I'm comfortable with who they are. And believe me, at MUST, the greatest thing that we have is our good name. And we're very careful. We've had organizations who've approached us before about doing something, and we didn't feel like that it was the right and proper fit for the image rub. And so we loved it with you guys, again, because we know the heart that you have. We know the kind of people that you are, and we're glad you're in our community. Absolutely.
And I cannot believe that it slipped my mind, because I have ADHD as well, too, about you being influenced by and working with the Cathy family, including Truett Cathy of Chick-fil-A. You know, how have Tracy and I built what we've built so far? And we're just getting started, honestly. Our next step is to scale our business model across America via franchising, but modeling other companies, other great American companies is, you know, basically, you know, we picked and pulled from other industries to build what we've built here, and we've differentiated and innovated from picking and pulling primarily from other industries. And one of the companies, that's been my thing this year is, hey, I want to learn about the great companies of America and the leaders and founders of that company. And of course, which one of them is top on the list is Chick-fil-A. And I was going to ask you you being so great about building a great culture and how to build a great culture and the hiring and leadership, etc. What are some of the things that you learned from Truett Cathy that helped you in building what you built with HomeBanc of America?
Well,
those principles.
When I was at HomeBanc, one of the first people that I brought in, because they allowed me to put on an event that was a lunch and learn, and I got to bring in people. And so Truett Cathy was one of the first people that came in. And
wow.
And one of the things that blessed us at HomeBanc was that for a lot of the executives that were there that had children graduating from college, they liked for us to hire them at HomeBanc because, the cultural model is at Chick-fil-A that if your child is wanting to go to work for Chick-fil-A and you have to go work at another company for at least 2 years before you can leave college and go to work there. Now, they have summer jobs and all the other things, but full-time employment, they want them to go out and to see other companies. I think the greatest thing that I learned from them is the word trust. Chick-fil-A has a high level of trust with people, and they see that trust as accelerating their opportunity to be able to impact people's lives. And so part of that trust level is something as simple as the way they scale the business, because they are very, very careful. The list of people who want to be owner-operators is enormous. They're very selective in their process. I've had people come to me and go, hey, I think I'm going to be going to work for Chick-fil-A, and I've been through like 8 interviews. And I go, you're about halfway there, maybe a third of the way there. It'll keep going. But they know that sourcing and getting the right people on the front end is going to be the key to engagement on the back end. Because to me, you want to source the right people, and then you want to get them engaged in what you're doing, and you want to retain them. That's the holy grail of what you're trying to do in companies and organizations. And sadly, that's not what the norm is in this country. Gallup does this study every year. They've now, I think it's about 26 million people have gone through this survey over the years. So it's got great longitude and it's got great depth to it. And the question is basically asked, are you engaged in your job? Are you engaged in your job? 55% of people on average say, I'm not engaged in my job. I show up, I get a paycheck, I do this, but no, I'm not engaged in my job. And it got scarier from there, Jason, because 16% of the people said, not only am I not engaged in my job, I'm actively disengaged. Isn't it a joy to work with an actively disengaged coworker? Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great and Built to Last, calls them OBTs, on-board terrorists. They're in your organization, you're paying them, and they're trying to blow you up on the bus along with them. So simple math, you put the 55 together with the 16%, you got a 71% disconnect rate right off the bat. 71% of people are disconnected in their jobs. I was down in Orlando, Florida, and I was sharing with a group of people on a Monday morning some stats. And I talked about a toxic workplace. When you're someplace you don't want to be, you're not adjusting your mindset and your perspective and getting into what you're doing and seeing the opportunity. And I said, do you know that there is the highest incident for heart attacks in America is on Monday morning between 5 and 7 a.m. There is
people
literally
ready for work.
A spike. Exactly. And I said, so what does that tell you? And a guy in the back yelled out, sleep late on Monday. Let the dangers on pass, then get up, right? And then the highest incident time for suicides in America is on Sunday night. So suicides on Sunday night, heart attacks on Monday morning. I think there's a correlation. And I think that correlation is being in a toxic work environment where you're not allowed to exercise your gifts, where when you are that 100% sales commission person, you know that your effort is going to be directly correlated to your lifestyle. And so getting a mindset that's that way. So I learned about sourcing the right people from Chick-fil-A, getting those people engaged, no question about it, retaining them. You know, Chick-fil-A just had their first, what would you call it, like early retirement possibility for a lot of their employees. This was summer, probably 2 years ago this summer. That was the first time in the company's history they had done that, because people come to Chick-fil-A and they stay. And that executive team that they have and the board that they have, those people are remarkable. The Steve Robinsons of the world, you know, is their chief marketing guy, which, by the way, has a new book out on Chick-fil-A. The lady who ran their HR there, she's now going and teaching all over the country about the Chick-fil-A model. And getting to be there local and see how they did it was such a blessing. And
so how do you get the engagement?
How did they get the engagement?
How did Chick-fil-A get that engagement to where that rate you're speaking about earlier goes down? And I'm sure, you know, you've been a Fortune, being a key member to building a Fortune 100 best places to work for. You have some secrets of building that amazing culture.
It's casting the vision. It's getting people to buy into that vision. Here's an example, another Truett story. If you go through Chick-fil-A and you thank them for your food, what do they say to you?
My pleasure, or it's a pleasure.
Right. It's my pleasure. That came from Truett Cathy being down at Amelia Island at a Ritz-Carlton. And by the way, Horst Schulze, a legend in the hospitality industry, started the whole thing at the Ritz-Carlton. He and I, we got to have dinner together at Christmas, and we were talking, and I said, so, hey, I want to ask you about this story that I've always heard, get your perspective. So Truett is there at a Ritz-Carlton property, and he said, it was like they anticipated everything that I wanted. And he said, and every time I would thank them, they would say, it's my pleasure. That came from Horst Schulze. Horst is also the guy who trained their people at the Ritz-Carlton with this thought: we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. He never wanted his staff to feel like they were beneath the people that they were serving. And so he wanted to elevate them. When you do that elevation, that's retention power, because people are seeing that they're a part of something together. So Truett comes back to Chick-fil-A, says, let me tell y'all what I observed. Do we think that we can get primarily, there are two populations, teenagers, senior adults. That's the main working body would be on those two bookends. Can we get them to buy into this? And of course, they certainly have. They're now famous for it. I think Chick-fil-A, consistency of their food, because they know how to scale it in the right way by making them owner operators where everybody has a piece of the action, but they can insist on the quality. That's how you scale on that national level. And I think their other thing they're just known for is hospitality.
There's just a different experience. And my favorite book, and there may be a better one out there, my favorite book on client experience is Be Our Guest by the Disney Institute. And there's just a different experience when you go to Disney World versus any other theme park. And there's just a different experience when you go to Chick-fil-A than any other fast food restaurant, period.
It is. I was with their director of marketing. We sponsor at the church I pastor at Piedmont. We host the Northeast Cobb Business Association. And their chief of marketing grew up in Northeast Cobb, and he agreed to come in, and he took us through this amazing presentation just showing the way they do those things at Chick-fil-A. What I did when I was at HomeBanc is I took our entire HR departments down to Disney, and we did the 5-day behind the scenes at Disney event, which was absolutely incredible.
I want to do that so bad.
You will not.
Plus, we can be around people again. I want to do that. I've wanted to do it for years. I just, including take a class with the Disney Institute. It's personally my favorite company, and Walt Disney. I don't know if you've seen the movie about, it's a movie called Life Before Walt, or Walt Before Mickey. And it's his whole backstory, because I never knew that he went bankrupt and that everybody on his team left him. You know, talking about vision and culture and imagination. But I apologize.
Well, someday we'll have to do something on, I call it creating the hot house effect for what you want to grow in your organization. And of course, the best way to get engagement is people model what they see. And that starts at the top. And if they're seeing it at the top, then it becomes a part of the culture. And the word culture is just, this is the way we do things around here. That's the most simple way to explain. And it's not what you have in a mission statement hanging on the wall or the list of values that's there.
Yes.
It's what they see you doing. And if you tell them that trust is a core value, then you need to engage trust. One of the great instruments we used at HomeBanc was the Great Places to Work Institute in San Francisco. And they do something called the Trust Index. And it measures 5 things. It measures things like not engagement. The word that they would use is credibility. Does the company do what it says that it's going to do? Camaraderie. Do you know that Gallup says if you have a best friend at work, you're 8 times more likely to stay in your job?
Wow.
So what are you doing to create camaraderie? Camaraderie is not built in cubicles. Camaraderie is built when you go out and you build a Habitat for Humanity house together. When you go to MUST Ministries, and you know what? We're going to do a food drive, and we're going to serve kids, or we're going to buy bikes this year for their toy store. You get people involved in things that get them out of the office. So
we like to go to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta together. I think that's some of our strongest.
Oh my gosh, they're phenomenal, and they're also one of the best places to work in America. I would present with them during that 5-year run where I was the chief people officer. I would go for Great Places to Work. So I had the opportunity to present with Howard Schultz, Starbucks. I saw people who did things in companies that were just astounding. And they created that strong sense of corporate responsibility to the society they're in. And people love companies that give back. They don't mind you doing well as long as you're helping to do good for other people. And so that, that's vitally important. But that engagement, love to do something with you sometime about how we can do that and just make it a learning session.
I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Ike. Well, I know that you're a even more so busier man right now with all the people that you're serving and helping through MUST Ministries. So I just want to see if you wanted to end up with just where can people go to to give back, and where your greatest need with MUST Ministry is right now.
Okay. Well, you can go to mustministries.org. And of course, the greatest need is always money. What has been our biggest challenge right now has been finding the food to be able to buy it. The Atlanta Community Food Bank that we normally buy our food from was in the middle of moving when all of this hit. They had let their supplies get down, so they weren't having to move everything. And then we had this event that took place. And so we're sending out teams to every place from Costco to Sam's to BJ's, you name it, going different places to be able to buy food. If you want to do a food drive in your neighborhood, you can contact MUST. We'll bring you out some barrels to be able to get the food. There's a lot of different ways. So mustministries.org. If you want to keep up with me and what's going on, follow me on Twitter. It's just Ike, I-K-E, Reighard, R-E-I-G-H-A-R-D. G-H-A-R-D, and follow me there because you'll keep up with what's happening. If you want to check things out on the church side, PiedmontChurch.tv is our website. You can watch our services and all those good things there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Ike. We really appreciate it. And if there's anything else that we can do for you, please let us know.
You're being a friend and a partner. And everybody needs a friend in times like these. So
I'm blessed that you have came into my life over the past couple of weeks. Thank you very much.
You betcha. Well, I got to make sure I'm going to send you that email if you'll send me your email address.
Yes, sir.
And then get the book and daily devotional.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ike.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing the app masterclass also with us. I just download that and hopefully it'll be of great use.
Listen, for me, I'm getting to my favorite historians is a lady named Doris Kearns Goodwin. She teaches a class on how did great presidents handle crises? I mean, because we're in a crisis right now. How did great presidents handle those things? What were some of the things that they were doing? All you do is turn around then and you bring them right back into your team that you're working with, into your family. She is absolutely great. Best book she's written is called Team of Rivals. It was the book that Barack Obama, when he became president, he ordered it for everybody on his staff. Told the story of how Abraham Lincoln, when he was running for the nomination to become president, there were 3 other men that just vilified him. They hated him. They said hateful, cruel things about him, called him a long-armed a hayseed, just all this terrible stuff. But when he became president, he put those 3 men in his cabinet, which just absolutely shocked the daylights out of the people around him. And they went, why would you get them on your team? He said, because the needs of this country are greater than my own personal feelings. I wish to goodness that the politicians in Washington would get it together right now. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, Libertarian. I wish people would get to the point where they would work together for what's best for this country. So, there's my soapbox today. Thanks, John Claude, for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ike.
Thanks, Jason. Y'all have a fantastic weekend, okay?
Thank you. You too, sir. Have a great weekend.
Wash your hands. Stay safe.
Listen to our Callie commercial. She tells everybody how to wash their hands properly.
I know.